Let's get real here. You're smart, and you probably know that banks don't have your best interests in mind when it comes to your money. They do have some dirty and not so dirty secrets that they try to keep away from public knowledge. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the 6 best kept secrets about money that banks like to hide from you. Henry Ford already said a century ago that it's a good thing the public doesn't know how the banking system works, or there would be a revolution before the next morning. So this is nothing new. Nevertheless, banks play an important role in our society, and it's a good thing they are here. But you need to know the rules if you don't want to get played by the banks. So let's dive in. Number 1. You're losing money every year and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. There is this mysterious thing called inflation. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean that it'll inflate your wallet. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Did you ever wonder why food and other things got more expensive and you have less money to spend? Well, that's exactly what inflation is. There's another thing called the Big Mac Index. Since you can find McDonald's basically everywhere in the world offering Big Macs, it has been a pretty good indicator of inflation worldwide over the years. If you look at the price of a Big Mac in 2011 in the USA, you could get one for $4.07. 10 years later, that Big Mac cost $5.65. Now, these increases in prices happen everywhere. For example, the inflation in the USA is about 2.4% per year at the time of making this video. If you park your money in a savings or checking account at your favorite bank, the bank pays you a whopping 0.5% interest, plus or minus minor changes depending on the bank. That means you lose about 2% every year. To give you a more visual example of what's happening, imagine you bring $100 to your bank. The bank happily pays you 50 cents of interest. Then inflation comes barging in and with a demonic laugh thrashes $2.40. So you're left with about $98 worth of your money. Hooray! And don't think banks tell you about that. They love it if you leave your money like this for as long as possible, because it's cheap money for them that they can invest in other things that make them a fortune. Now, while you can't do a damn thing about inflation itself, you do have some options for what you can do with your money instead of leaving it dying and rotting on that sinking ship that's your account. However, while this information would go far beyond what this video is about, you can leave a comment or two with your question and I might do another video answering them. Onwards! Number 2. Banks earn good money from your credit card transactions. There are 2 main ways banks make money from your transactions with your credit card. The first is they charge processing fees when you pay with your credit card. That might come as a surprise to you, because you only see what you actually paid to the merchant on your statement. That is because the merchant pays the fees to the banks. Let's have a look at a simplified example. Let's say you went on a shopping spree and bought some hot toys for $200. On your credit card statement, you will only see the final sum of $200. What you don't see are the added fees from the merchant because the bank is charging emergent transaction fees. These fees are included in the final sum. If, for example, the bank charges 3% transaction fees, that would be $6. These $6, do you think the merchant will pay them out of his own pocket? Of course not. These $6 are added to the price of the item that you bought. No need to cry though, here's a tip for you. I've explained how you can get some money back from the merchant in another video, which I highly recommend you watch after you finish this one. I'll put a link in the description. Just make sure you watch the part about negotiation. Now, there is another reason why banks make a killing with credit cards. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you have an idea why banks go to such lengths with incentives and bonuses to get you to sign up for a credit card? The reason is that banks are happy when you buy stuff with a credit card and accumulate a large debt. The average interest rate at the moment is close to 20%. Remember how much banks give you for your money in your account? As a refresher, you get a mind-blowing interest rate of 0.5%. To make it crystal clear, if you have $1,000 in your account, you get a whopping $5. But if you borrow $1,000 from your bank, you have to pay an additional $200 back. Don't know what you think, but I suggest you better don't go into debt with your credit card. Let's move on to number 3. Money in your account is not physical. Remember the Great Depression at the beginning of the 19th century? You probably learned about it in school. Once the stock markets were crashing and the money went down the drain, people rushed to the banks to get their hands on hard cash. If just a few people go to get the money out of their accounts, it's no problem. But if the number goes into the tens or hundreds of thousands at the same time, banks have a problem. Why, you ask? Great question. Let me explain. The numbers you see printed on your statements are just that, electronic digits printed on paper. It's basically nothing else than a reminder of how much money you put into your account. Banks don't have your cash stacked in vaults like Scrooge McDuck. They take your money and lend it to others. That can be mortgages, car loans, business loans, and so on. By lending your money to others, banks make a nice profit and give you a very small cut in the form of interest. Now, is it a problem that your money is lent to someone else? Of course not. If you go to an ATM to get some cash, the bank has no problem giving it to you. The problem arises when, in a crisis, everyone and their grandmothers run to the bank to get it. Banks simply don't have that much cash lying around because they invested it. That's due to a policy called fractional reserve banking. This tongue-breaker policy requires banks to hold a portion of your deposit liabilities in liquid assets as a reserve and also allows them to hand out the rest of your money in the form of loans and mortgages. Does that mean your money is not safe? No, because the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation protects your money up to a certain amount. If you want to know the exact amount that's protected, you gotta check with your bank. Number 4. Bankers are not your friends. Do you know that lawyers and bankers are often depicted as evil and even as devils in the movies? Well, there's a reason for that. Bankers are a friendly bunch. They call you by name, remember your birthday and anniversaries, and are always ready to call and have a friendly chat with you. But there is a deeper reason why they want to be all buddy-buddy with you. Once they gain your trust, you are much more open to their suggestions. And some of these suggestions are special deals like loans, new credit cards, and other offers. Most of the time, these special deals are not in your best interest. They simply have to reach certain quotas, as they are nothing else but salespeople. If they don't reach their weekly, monthly, or yearly goals, they are in trouble. In the worst case, they lose their job if they don't make these goals. Are all bankers bad? Of course not. There are some who genuinely care about their customers and clients. But they can only do so much for you until their boss calls them into his office. I'm sure you can imagine the rest. So if your banker offers you a great deal, you better think hard and take your time to make a decision if you really need it. Number 5. Foreign transaction fees. This shouldn't come as a surprise to you if you paid attention and asked the right questions before you sign up for a credit card. I know quite a few stories of people who traveled to foreign countries and had a good time there, with parties, excellent food, and of course the obligatory shopping sprees. Their good mood lasted exactly until they came back home and had a good look at their credit card statements. Aside from the normal currency conversion fees, the statements showed an additional foreign transaction fee, which is usually between 2 to 3% of the transaction. And this can add up to a couple of $100 very fast. So even if you like surprises, I doubt this is one of them. And if you don't want them, ask your credit card company if they have coverage in the countries you want to visit. The simple solution if they don't, change to a credit card company that does offer coverage where you want to go to travel. Number 6. Always check your accounts. Your bank account is an integral part of your life. And that means you can't be too busy or lazy to keep an eye on it regularly. Just recently, a friend told me that she bought something online and a few days later she found a charge on her statement that she wasn't responsible for. Fortunately, she is legally protected and her bank had to reimburse the money. But if she hadn't paid attention to her statements, she wouldn't have seen that falsely charged amount. Sometimes banks try to delay the process and get out of this. But if you made your report within 90 days of that false charge, then you only need to stick to your guns. Banks are obliged to reimburse you in such cases. And that's it for this video. If you learned something interesting here today, let me know in the comments. Now if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing and to tickle the bell for more of yours truly. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!